Hello and welcome back to the Cubase Fundamentals course, where we're learning how to use Cubase in the context of writing a piece of music. So we're writing project 1, and at the moment we've got an 8-bar drum beat and it's very exciting. What we're going to do today, because we want a little task to accomplish at the end of each little mini session, what we're going to do today is add a ride to the drum beat. So in order to do that, we need to learn a couple of new skills. And the first thing that we're going to do before we get into the meat of today's tutorial is to slow the thing down. It's currently running at 120 BPM, a little bit frantic. I'm going to just click in the tempo box and type 100. And just slow it down a bit. That's the pace that I want to have the song run at. Now what we're also going to do today is get the metronome up and running. We don't strictly need it, because we've got a drum rhythm here, but I'm trying to show you this stuff as we go along, and so we're going to deal with the metronome and all the various options available to us. And you can see in our tool strip at the bottom of the application all our various metronome options. If you can't see all of this, there's a little 3-dotted curtain just to the right. These dots indicate that the particular section that you're looking at, so this is the metronome controls, can be shrunk or extended, and I have everything visible. So left to right, activate metronome click. I get the song running. This just turns the metronome on and off. I can press C on my keyboard to do the same thing. The button to the right of it is the pre-count. Now you only hear the pre-count when you press record. So if I press record, you get a 4-bar count in, and then the metronome disappears. We'll deal with why in a moment. If I turn the pre-count off and press record, recording will start immediately. Okay, so my preferred method of operation is to have just the pre-count on and get a rhythm in as fast as I possibly can. If I don't have a rhythm, I'm going to need the metronome if I'm recording to a click track. Next along, we've got these funny little 4 lines. This is what tells us what the metronome sounds like. 1 high note, 3 low notes, but we can edit that thing. In order to do so, we'll actually go via the main metronome edit panel, which we access with the little E button. Right at the top, this is the same button as we just saw earlier. If I turn this on, you can see the light down below come on and go back off again. Now I don't use MIDI click, so I have that disabled. This is if you want to send MIDI data to an instrument. You can actually have, let's say, a piano operate your metronome for you. I don't bother. I use Steinberg's internal sound, so I'm not going to cover it because I don't use it, but that's what that is. I use audio click. These click options very closely mirror the button behavior, but they can get a little bit confused between themselves. I keep things really, really simple actually with my metronome. I just keep all 3 engaged and I control my metronome here. So my metronome is either on or off and there's nothing in between. However, if I, for instance, just turn click while playing off and then get the song up and running, turn the metronome on, but you don't hear anything because we've disabled that specific feature. If I now engage the recording function, you hear the metronome suddenly spring into life. Press asterisk again to turn recording off, and we lose the metronome. So you can control playback and recording independently, but I have all 3 on. Number of bars counting I set to 1. The default is 2, and I love it being at 1. It really used to annoy me for years that there was a 2-bar counting until I discovered that I could actually set it to 1. Time signature at record start position, I don't think I've ever changed. The options are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll leave you to investigate those if you want. I always just have whatever I'm going to start recording at, that's what I want my counting to be. Seems pretty straightforward to me. And this is where we specify that we're using the Steinberg click sound, which I always do. If you're insane enough to want to use an egg shaker for a metronome, then be my guest. Over in click patterns, we can specify up to 4 different types of high and low note. So our default is this one here. We're currently in 4/4 and this is our default pattern. But if I create a new one and then click in it, I get this little grid where I get to specify the relative pitches of all of the 4 notes. So now the third beat is going to be somewhere in between. I'm just going to call this in between. And now in our selection box down here, we can choose in between as our new metronome style. And so when we press play, pretty obvious what that's doing. And back to default. Okay, that's our metronome options covered. I'm just going to double click on the part and that's going to bring up my Midi event viewer below. Just going to make this a little bit bigger. And there's all our Midi notes. Now the note that I'm going to be playing for my ride is D♯2. If I move my mouse out the way so that it's not confusing, you can actually see the key lighting up when I press the note. That will only happen, you'll only get that behavior if this is the currently selected track. At the moment it's our only track, so it is going to be selected. But if you're ever in this viewer and you're wondering why you don't see that little light come on, it's because that's not the currently selected track. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to have the data appear in real time in the Midi editor, and the way we accomplish that is by engaging this little record symbol. It says record in editor and it's currently suspended. You click that little button, it'll turn red. And now as we record this data, it will appear in the Midi editor and it'll make it nice and easy to see what's going on. So here we go, we're going to record our ride symbol. Let's press asterisk, we'll get a 1 bar count in and then we can start recording our ride. Now I can press stop and that's that recorded in. See this little note that's grey at the front, that means it's outside of the limits of the part. You've got a couple of options, you can either pick it up and move it into the part. Since this is at the beginning of the song, that's actually your only option, but anywhere else you'd be able to extend the part and bring this note inside. But I can just pick it up, move it inside the part, and now it's no longer a ghost note or basically like an orphan note. It doesn't have a part associated with it. And that's it, we've recorded our first data, aside from cheating by dragging pattern pads into Cubase. In the next episode we'll take a closer look at these notes that we've just recorded and we'll do some processing on them. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button. I'll see you for the next time. Thanks very much.